who's the guilt on? Do you feel guilt for your children? Do you feel guilt for you? And they're saying now that the new statistic is, a child's happiness is based on its mother's happiness.
Yes.
Ugly Truth of Divorce podcast with Sam and Leah, helping you not just survive, but thrive.
Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another episode of The Ugly Truth of Divorce with your podcast hosts, Sam and Leah. And again, this podcast is always sponsored by TNC, our monthly membership group for moms only, where we give a training every single Monday, and we have group training. And there is a great community of women hanging out that are going through the same thing as everybody else. And that's where TNC is. So today we are going to talk about what today?
We're going to talk about guilt a little bit. So somebody had asked a question, and it was along the lines of, how do I stop feeling so guilty for being the one to initiate the divorce? Because when I see how much he's struggling with it, it makes me feel like maybe I did the wrong thing, or maybe I need to give it a try again or change my mind.
Right.
But then when I think about really what I need and where I'm at, I know that this is the right thing for me. Like that. So what do you do? Like, how do you deal with that? And I relate to that question a lot because I was the one who initiated both of my divorces.
Yeah.
And it was definitely harder the first time because that's when kids were involved, right? I had my daughter with my first husband, and he was, he's very religious. And so to him, like, he would have, even though the marriage wasn't good and our relationship wasn't healthy,
right,
he would have just sucked it up and deal with it forever. And so the fact that, and I knew that, which is why I knew that I had to be the one to initiate it, because otherwise it was never going to happen.
Right.
And so, and he was crushed. I mean, that was something that he did not want. And he was really scared about it and overwhelmed and upset. And so then that makes me look like the fucking villain, right? So now I'm a horrible person because this person who was a good person, that, there was not abuse, there was not any drug or alcohol problems, it was nothing like that. It really was like, we are just not compatible, and there's so much missing in this relationship, and like I am not happy, and I can't do this for fucking 50 more years, like So I knew that I had to leave, and my daughter certainly wasn't getting the best version of me when I felt like I was trapped in a relationship I didn't want to be in. So I had to make the move, and it was really tough. And so you do kind of feel that guilt, like you feel like a shitty person, even though you know that it's the right thing. You know that that's what you need to be doing. So here's a few tips. If this is you and you were the one initiating the divorce, and you're seeing your ex really struggling with it, and so that's making you feel like you're kind of flip-flopping, like, what do you do? So,
well, I think before you can jump into those, I think you need to ask yourself, is your ex really upset, or is your ex acting upset to make you feel worse?
Yeah, that manipulative thing might be playing.
That's what I went through. Well. I went through the whole, like, you have crushed me, I will be nothing without you. What are you doing to our children? What will your parents say? Everybody's going to know us as the divorce, like all of this external guilt from community, family, him. And it was all just a bitch fest, a facade to make me feel even worse.
Yeah.
He had no problem mistreating me. But man, when I called, red flag, I don't want to be here anymore, then it's like, now you're the bad guy. It was that villain, victim switch real fast. And so you have to ask yourself, I had a client like this yesterday that she said, hey, I haven't said the words yet, but I'm getting ready to, ask for a divorce. She was telling me about the marriage, and she was basically saying, I know he's going to lose his mind. And I'm like, but you don't need his permission. This is a statement. This is you're informing him that you want divorced. You're not asking permission. So what I have my clients do is write on a piece of paper 4 or 5 different scenarios of what could happen when you say those words. And no matter what is said up there, let's say he says, absolutely, let's just do this and be friends. Cool. He says, oh my gosh, I'm so hurt, I need a minute. He flips out and starts cussing at you. Or the worst case, he throws you out. no matter what happens, or, maybe a fifth case of he just wants to stand there and argue and tell you how you can't do this. And, he's going to do X, Y, and Z to himself if this happens, blah, blah, blah. You write out all the scenarios at the top of the page, and underneath them, you put what action you will do. What's your boundary? If this gets said or done, what will I do at that moment? And you already have your action plan. And she was like so relieved. She's like, I keep thinking worst case scenario. She goes, I never thought about playing them out and writing down. I'm like, you're wanting validation of him to say, okay, yeah, let's get divorced. And then you don't have to feel bad. You won't have to feel that guilt. No matter what, most likely he's going to make you feel guilty about it. And you have to know that this is the decision you need to make, and you're just informing it. And then you're going to follow the steps of leaving, walking away, going to a different room, having somebody come pick you up, remove your children always before this conversation anyways. So ask yourself, is it guilt that you're feeling or guilt that's being pushed onto you by somebody that's severely insecure and is your abuser and wants to take advantage of you and manipulate you into staying? Because that's what I had. So, all right, now let's hear your tips. What do we got?
So the first thing, if you're really struggling with this guilt, is focusing on your why. You have to keep reminding yourself why you initiated the divorce in the first place, and then the long-term benefits for both of you. Because even though they might not see it now, this really is the best thing for everyone, because they shouldn't be in a relationship with somebody who doesn't want to be with them either, right? Like that's not good for anybody. So just keep reminding yourself of the why, and like journaling is great. Making a big list that you can refer to when you feel like maybe you're second guessing yourself. Second thing is separating his emotions from your responsibility. You are not responsible for his feelings, only for your own. So it's okay for him to be sad. Like it's okay for him to be disappointed. It's part of his healing process. He's an adult. He has to take responsibility for processing his emotions and what's going on. Get the support, reach out to a therapist, join a support group, just like you're doing. You are not responsible for fixing him and helping him through that either. And that might sound harsh to some of you, but it's the truth. You have to focus on you now. You have to figure out how to get yourself through it in one piece and get the support that you need. And they need to do the same for themselves. They are not your job.
Yeah.
Number 3 is acknowledge your grief. Divorce is a loss. I mean, it can feel like a death sometimes, even when it's the right choice. So make sure you're giving yourself that time and space to feel the sadness, without letting it pull you backwards. It's okay to feel grief and sadness and disappointment and that loss, because that's what it is. But again, that doesn't mean that it's the wrong choice. You have to work through those feelings. Number 4, stay consistent. Flip-flopping only prolongs the process and pain. It will literally just lead to more suffering. Trust the decision that you've made based on what's best for you both in the long term. Trust yourself.
Right.
And then 5, talk it out, whether it's a therapist, a coach, a support group, some kind of safe space to help you process the guilt and the sadness and everything that you're going through. And so that you can acknowledge the emotions without letting them be the thing that's guiding your decision, right? Don't let all of those feelings be the reason that you are second guessing yourself, because we know, in your soul when you are not supposed to be with someone anymore. And then we try to intellectualize it. And then that's when we second guess ourselves. And then we get scared. And then we are overwhelmed, and the fear of the unknown and all of that other shit starts to seep in. And that's what keeps us stuck. And that's why the most common thing that we hear from our clients is, I wish I would have left sooner. That is the number one regret that we hear from our clients is, I should have left sooner. And so if that's you, you're certainly not alone. But that's what keeps people stuck is that it's that fear. And so if I can give you any advice, it's just to prepare. Like preparation breeds confidence. So if you've been considering divorce, which on average, it takes 2 years, by the way, on average for people who are considering it, before they even take those steps to make it a reality. So
I
like
can
people
believe
are
that.
sitting with this for a long time and
Yeah.
considering it for a long time over and over. Ask people, reach out, get resources, listen to the podcast, get the books, hire a coach, get into support groups, talk to people who have done it before you, get as much information as you can so that you feel like, okay, now I feel like my ducks are in a row. Now I know when I drop that bomb and say, hey, listen, I want a divorce. You already know what those next steps are that you need to take. You've already done things. You've already gotten, paperwork together. You've already
Right.
gotten account numbers and passwords and things. You've prepped so that you are ready for whatever those next steps are. And that will
Right.
help you feel so much more confident in actually making it a reality instead of like jumping into a blind and then not knowing like what the fuck's going to come next.
Right. And I think asking yourself, what are you feeling guilty about? Like really asking yourself that like 6 times to really get to the root cause of, and a lot of it's going to lead you to shame of not being able to keep, this marriage together for your children or for you or for community or for your church or for your family, whatever it is. And really just process, what would that be like staying? And for me, it was, okay, yeah, I'm going to have to go through this divorce. It's going to be the first in my family. It's going to be talked about. We're small town people, oh my gosh, what happened? But staying was more of a bigger secret and lie of like
Yeah.
staying in a marriage that was not equal, was not
Right.
fun, was not fair, was not healthy, was not good for my children. That felt like a bigger lie and a bigger shameful thing to do than to just own up to the fact that it was not working. And somebody commented, I wish I would have known it was going to get so much worse right after. And with certain type of people, it will. People that, don't want to accept it, people that have a lot of personality disorders or mental health issues, or just don't have the coping skills to deal with tragedy or loss, are going to act out and are going to try to punish you. But that's where you have to like stay the course, have your plan, have your team established, know who's going to help you. What are the next steps? Who can I contact in an emergency? Where's my money coming from? Where can I stay with my kids? Like you make a plan for all of it. And no matter what kind of train wreck is going over with the other side, you're staying the course of picking what it is that you wanted to do, which is divorce. And I think a lot of us, in the 4 years it took her and the 2 years it took me, I think we said we wanted a divorce. I know I said it at least 5 or 6 times before I ever followed through with doing it. Because I got talked back in because the guilt that he put on me, I was like, oh, you're right. Oh, you're right. Okay.
Right.
And it's like,
and sometimes I think you think like, if I tell them this is how serious I am, like I'm ready to leave. Oh, okay. Maybe now they'll wake
they'll
up
change
and
for
they'll
2
really
weeks.
take me seriously and they'll really
Yeah.
change and see the
Yeah.
error of their ways. And
Right. Yeah. Improved for a couple days, couple weeks, and then it went right back to the same cycle. Love bombing was over. And I think just who's the guilt on? Do you feel guilt for your children? Do you feel guilt for you? And they're saying now that the new statistic is, a child's happiness is based on its mother's happiness.
yes.
I mean,
Yes.
okay, confirmation, check, got it. I need to be happy for my children to be successful and happy. Okay, I nailed it, doing it. So I think it's just a matter of really unfolding that onion of where's the guilt feeling coming from? Is it his words on you, or is it truly a feeling you're feeling? And what's on the other side of that though? Okay, I might go through a phase of guilt. I'm going to process it. I'm going to get all my ducks in a row. I'm going to be ready for this divorce. But what's on the other side? Yeah, I went through hell. Mine was absolute hell. Long time, a lot of money, a lot of misery, a lot of just, wrong mistakes and wrongdoings. But the other side of it, oh my gosh,
Worth it.
And I think you made a TikTok about that the other day. Like you have no idea how good life is.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
You really don't. You don't know how good things can get. You don't know like your best day. You still haven't experienced your fucking best days yet. Like
Right.
think about that. That's exciting. That's something to look forward to. That gives you hope. You haven't even met all the people yet that are going to love the hell out of you, right? There's like so much potential on the other side of that fear. But again, Sam, like the reason your divorce was such a shit show is because you had no information. Like you literally learned the hard way every step of the way.
I was like 2 steps behind all the time. I was trying to I'm like, where are we at? I need to catch up. I'm still on this step over here. And you guys are all the way. Oh, okay. Well, maybe I can skip this step. And it was horrible because
it was a
wasn't
mess.
ready.
Which is just another testament of like, prepare, like
Yeah.
ask
Have a
questions,
team.
connect with people, get a coach, read the books, like do as much as you can so that you
Yeah.
don't make a million mistakes that cost you a lot of money and time.
Yeah. So when I was talking to this woman yesterday, her call for an hour with me was literally like, what are the 10 things I need to do before I tell him? And I think
Mm,
she was getting ready to make the same mistake I did, which is I focused on how do I tell him? How
right.
do I say our marriage is over? How do I say the kids won't be here every day? How do I say, we won't be together anymore? And I focused so weeks of time figuring out what's the perfect way to say it.
Mhm.
And what I didn't think was after I said it, what was going to happen. I didn't think
Right.
about where I was sleeping. I didn't think about how I was paying my bills. I didn't think about what attorney I was going to use. I didn't, because the hardest part for me was telling him, no, this is the real deal. This is the I'm not coming back. This is the end all be all, we out. And blinders on. Now, I
Mhm.
should have understood that this was going to be his second divorce. So he kind of already knew the routine, knew what to say to me, knew how to
Right.
string me along a little bit as he was getting all of his ducks in a row real fast. But that's just me being, I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know. So when I was talking to this woman, I'm like, look, sister, here's some things we got to do before we even say the words. The words are actually the easiest part. The hardest part is all the prep, making sure you got everything and ready to go. Because if it goes go time, it goes J-Lo, enough movie bad. Oh, I got shit planned. I know how to get
Mhm.
escape. I know where my money's at. I know how to provide. I know, where to, like, a lot of us have to plan a story like that, and plan
Mhm.
out for something, a scenario happening like that. And I hope that's not yours, but don't think past the words.
Yeah.
What am I going to do the next day? How am I going to take care of myself the next day? Guilt to me is the least of your worries. Providing and protecting yourself is the priority. Making sure your future self doesn't get fucked over by the
Mhm.
emotional response you have in that first conversation.
Mhm. Or your ex has. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot to
Yeah.
understand, but that's why we're here. That's why we offer support. That's why we have consults. That's why we have clarity calls. Everything we need is at samandleah.com. If you guys have any questions about the divorce process, about co-parenting in high conflict, or you just want to feel like you want to be a part of a community that's going through this at the same time, join TNC, where a lot of moms are hanging out, getting support, all going through the same thing. They're getting trainings, and it's just a great place to feel not alone in a very scary moment in your life where everything is kind of up in shambles right now. And to go be around like-minded people that are struggling, but also supporting one another is a
Mhm.
great thing. I wish I would have had it. I know Leah Marie does too. So go ahead and check out samandleah.com and join TNC when you are ready. Bye, everyone.